quite full on. Okay, so welcome to this practice this morning. This is move and tone, but actually we're going to be using, instead of the weights and the resistance bands this morning, we're really just going to be using a yoga block. So if you don't have a yoga block, maybe a cushion, a small pillow off the couch, or a lightweight book. And you'll see we're going to do a bit of the throwing and catching, but with our feet more than with our hands. Because today we're looking at playfulness and creativity, and the importance of how we stay creative and playful within ourselves as we grow into, as we keep growing up. As we move into this stage of our lives, we can, with all the pressures and responsibilities that we have, find it harder to connect into playfulness. And actually, playfulness is one of the things that keeps us feeling youthful, amongst other things, keeps us feeling a little bit less serious and a little bit more kind of at ease. So we're going to use this block this morning, not only for mobility, which is strength through movement, particularly around the joints, but also just for fun. So we're going to start lying on the back. So have your block to hand, or your cushion if that's what you're using this morning. And let's come over onto the back, and let's first of all just connect into the breath. I'm just going to make sure I've got that right, my sound right up. There we go. So just place the hands onto the rib cage. And just take any first little preparatory movements, rolling of the head. Just feel settled in the shape that you're in. And then just take a few breaths, just to notice in particular the breath out. And maybe notice a few seconds into that breath out, a natural softening back of the abdomen, a natural gathering in of the soft spaces of the front body to support the end of that breath out. And also just notice any little movement in the ribs. And imagine, if not actually do, very gently as you breathe out, a subtle softening down of those front ribs. So you could stroke them with the fingertips, with the palms of the hands. You could just imagine and feel it. That as that breath out, a few seconds into that breath out, just encouraging that gentle softening down of the front ribs. Now, as you do it, see if you can do it without pressing the whole of your lower back into the ground. So see if you can keep a gentle little arch, a natural arch in the lumbar as you begin to soften the front ribs. And don't worry if this is new to you, just to get a sense of that activity, because we're going to be wanting to engage this as we carry on. So unlike the classical kind of instruction of suck your belly towards your spine, push your lower back into the ground, we want to keep that natural curve of the spine, but we want to just protect the front body a little bit more by engaging a little bit of that softening and gathering in midway through that breath out to help bring that support in. But we relax that as we breathe in. Okay, so let's take hold. Let's just reach our arms up towards the sky first. Let's just get a little bit of movement through the wrists. So just begin to roll through the wrists, and maybe lift one leg up and roll through the ankle. And if it's supported and comfortable enough through the spine, do the same with the other leg at the same time. So this sort of ladybird position on the back of the body. Rolling through the wrists, rolling through the ankles, and just begin to get a little bit playful with your movements. Like I'm pretending to do breaststroke, just lying on my back. Just start moving through your arms, through your legs, and just start sort of waking up the body and just wriggling, making shapes, just noticing how the body moves. And then let the knees drop in towards the chest, and let's take our block or our cushion, whatever we're using, something light so it's not going to hurt us if it falls on us. And what we're going to be doing is, first of all, we're just going to throw it up in the air and catch it. So we're waking up the brain, bringing connection in between brain and body. And then we're going to get a bit brave and see if we can catch it between our legs and then drop. So we're throwing it up and seeing if we can catch it between our feet and our legs. Woo! And not that time. And then catching it. So we're just getting a little bit creative. And maybe if you catch it between your feet, could you try between your knees? Woo! Your shins, couple more times. Feeling how you're just waking up the body. Yeah. And then dropping. Okay, great. And then let's take this block. Let's bring our feet to the floor. Notice how that feels. Maybe notice I notice a little lift in the system. And I'm going to take the block or the cushion and place it between the thighs. And I'm going to squeeze the thighs a little and release. So I'm going to bring the hands down wherever feels comfortable. Feet firmly on the ground. Squeeze the block and release. And just take that action with your breath. So as you breathe out, that softening of the front ribs down and squeezing the thighs, releasing the squeeze on the breath in, but keeping the block there. And just take that little pulsing action through the thighs. Feel that engagement. If you press through the feet as well and squeeze the thighs, that really brings alive not only the inner thighs, but also the outer hips, the buttocks. Okay, now you can keep your bottom on the floor if you have any issues with the lower back this morning, or relaxing the squeeze. As you breathe out, tuck the tailbone. So I'll show with my hands, tuck the tailbone as if the tailbone is moving in toward the belly, and begin to peel the spine a little way up. We don't want it to go up too high. So the front of the ribs are softening down. So we're not looking for a back bend. We're looking for the front of the ribs softening down a little. And then we're just going to pulse. So we're going to bring in that squeeze, pressing through the feet, squeezing of the thighs. And then we're going to relax and drop the bottom just an inch or so. Squeeze, press through the feet and release. And just using the block or the cushion to give us something to squeeze in towards. Finding the breath. And you can move really slowly with the breath, or you can move a little bit faster. You can choose your morning adventure this morning. A couple more times. And just get to the point where you feel that actually that part of the body's getting a little bit tired. When you get to that stage, just maybe take it twice more. So we just work just beyond that sense of a little bit of tiredness. And then roll the spine down. Take the block away. Take the block away. Bring support to either side of the body if you need to, as you just let the knees fall wide. Soles of the feet can come to the floor, and just let gravity take hold of the legs for a moment. But again, if this doesn't suit your pelvis or your hips, you could support the legs. And let's take the block again. And this time, the block or the cushion, we're going to place it not between the palms of the hands, but between the forearms. And we're going to squeeze it. So the palms are facing one another. This could also be a yoga. This is a big block, but like the yoga bricks. And I'm going to squeeze this brick as much as I can. Squeeze the brick. And I'm going to lift my shoulders up from the ground, and I'm going to drop my shoulders down. Just take this a couple of times. Anytime you need to release the legs, feel free. I'm just going to give them a couple more seconds there, just letting gravity bring a sense of length to those inner thighs. One more time. And then if you've got any issues with the shoulders, you could just play with taking movements with the arms in front of the chest. But if the arms are happy to, the shoulders are happy to, as you breathe out, squeezing the block actively between the hands. Take the arms over the head. And they won't go as far as they normally do, as you imagine them to, and then bring them in front of you. Okay, at this point, I'm going to bring the soles of my feet back onto the floor. Squeezing the block, I'm going to take the arms over the head, noticing the shoulders, and notice your ribs. Notice if your ribs have just popped up towards the sky. And as you breathe out, soften those front ribs down. And then bring the arms back in front of you. Now you can just work the arms. So either you're keeping the arms in front of the body, taking free movement, squeezing, or you're taking the arms over the head. Now, as you bring the arms forward, you could, as you breathe out, squeeze and take a little lift, looking towards the knees. Breathing in, come to center, head down, nice and relaxed. Breathing out, taking the arms up and over the head, soft through the front ribs. Breathing in, back to center. Breathing out, maybe squeezing the front body a little bit more as you lift and come up. And if you don't want to lift the head up, then you can keep the head on the ground the whole time. Inhaling, wrists over shoulders. Exhaling, arms maybe over the head. Inhaling, arms over shoulders. Exhaling, squeeze. So if I wasn't lifting the head up, I'd still be squeezing, bringing in that tuck. Good. And then bringing the arms over the head for the last time if you're working with that movement. Really feeling that squeeze through the shoulders. Bringing the arms towards the body as you breathe out. Maybe engaging the front body. Maybe even lifting the head for the last time. And then coming back down, taking the block, placing it to the side, and just feeling that activity through the shoulders. Wrap one arm over the other. Just tuck the hands underneath the shoulder blades. Just take a couple of deep breaths into the upper chest as if you were trying to breathe the hands out to the side of the body. Swapping sides when you're ready, taking the opposite arm on top, wriggling the fingers under the shoulder blades. It's taking a few breaths into the upper chest, upper back. One more. Great, and then let's move the work back down to the legs. And this one's quite fun, but it can be a little bit tricky. See how you get on, and don't worry about it. So we're not looking for perfection. We're not looking to get it right. We're just looking to have a little bit of fun with it. So we're going to bring one foot in towards the body and flex the foot. And then we're going to bring our block or our cushion. I can't even do it, and put it on the foot. So you have to play around with what position of the foot you need, right? And then with the foot here, just turn the toes out to the side and then turn the toes back towards the body. So you can see as I turn my toes, I'm turning my ankle, my knee, my hands are mimicking the movement, and then I'm turning it back towards my body. And I have practiced this yesterday, right? So if you're finding it much more difficult than me, that's really normal. But can you feel that you have to be so controlled in your movements? Yeah, you have to be so controlled. Now, when you've tried that, turning the toes away and back, you could see how it would be maybe to make a little circle. Now, the leg can stay bent, or you can let it lengthen a little bit. Don't forget to breathe. Rest the hands where you want them to. And I'm just circling the legs, so it's super controlled movement from that hip. So it can feel quite tiring quite quickly, because it's waking up all those tiny muscles. Okay, and then if you wanted to flex the foot, so draw the toes back towards you and send the foot, how far can you get the foot away from you without the block? Can you see my hands are all scrunching up and getting all tight when I start concentrating? So keep the rest of the body nice and soft. And then when you're ready, swap legs. Give that one a little shake along the ground. Let's drop it along the ground, give the foot a waggle. Yeah, and swap sides. So bending the knee, flexing the foot, bringing the block. This side's always a little harder for me. Bringing the block onto the foot. And just starting with that hip rotation to start. So the toes of the foot on the flex foot are turning out to the side. Taking the knee with it and then back to center. And we're just playing a few times, remembering to breathe, just mucking about so we don't have to berate ourselves if the block keeps falling off down. Nobody minds, not important. And then those circles with the bent leg or with the straight leg. And if you were feeling really, if you were feeling brave, you could see if you could get bigger with your circle. but it's much harder. And it will depend on the mobility that you have in your ankle to keep the foot flexed. It will depend on the support you have through the leg and into the hip. So just be really, joyful with it, just really silly with it. Couple of circles, maybe flexing the foot and seeing how far you can take the foot away from the body and back again. And then when you're ready, throw the block up and catch it. Let that left leg or whatever other leg you were doing be long on the ground. Give the foot a bit of a waggle. Other leg long on the ground. Shake the legs. Reach the arms overhead. Maybe have a little stretch or wriggle, however feels good. And then just roll over to the side. Let's come up onto our all fours. So we want to be comfortable on our all fours. Excuse me, just sorting my hair out. Want to be comfortable on all fours, so you might need a little something under the knees. And then we're going to take our brick or our block or our cushion, and we're going to place it onto the back of the pelvis, And we're going to want to be a little bit towards the back of our mat. So I'm just bringing the toes towards the back of the mat. So you could start by just getting a little bit of movement through the pelvis. Just swing the pelvis from side to side. Maybe begin to circle the pelvis and see how easy or how difficult it is to keep the brick, the block, the cushion on the back of the body. And as you do so, just really spreading the fingers, taking up space between the fingers, making sure the knees are roughly under the hips. Yeah, and then let's come to a neutral position, and we're going to engage the core a little bit. Okay, so we're going to work a little bit through the front body here. So first of all, just with the arms long, so the elbows are soft, but the arm bones are long. So I'm not going to bend my elbows at any time. I'm going to keep my arms long, but there's a softness in the elbow. I'm going to drop my shoulders down through, or drop my chest rather down through my shoulder girdle. And then I'm going to push through the hands a little and feel how I can go to the point where I'm rounding my back, and then drop my chest through. And then rounding the back. And notice what the block is doing on the back of the body. So you see as I drop, it tilts. The top of the block tilts towards my belly. And as I push too much through my arms, the back of the block here, this bit, drops down. So this is what my pelvis is doing. It's kind of showing me really obviously what my pelvis is doing. So if I want to keep my pelvis nice and neutral, find that space where you're not over pushing and you're not collapsing, and the pelvis feels a little neutral. So there's a little press through the hands, and you could bring one hand onto the belly, and as you breathe out, feel those front ribs softening back and down as you breathe out. Okay, and then we're going to take it nice and steady. We're going to move opposite hand and knee. So as you breathe out, I just want you to slide one hand forward and lift the opposite knee off the ground and just slide it a little bit forward. So in fact, it's as if you're going to crawl, yeah? So rather than bringing them out in front of you, you're just sliding the hand forward and lifting the knee and feeling the front of the body come alive. And then bring the hand and the knee down. Then slide the opposite hand and knee forward, but hovering the knee, hovering the hand, just balancing for a moment. So it's as if you're crawling, but you're not quite there. Drop the knee down. So I'm going to slide my right hand forward, my left knee, but I'm hovering now the hand and the knee. Feeling that engagement through the front of the body, just to hover. Noticing I'm not sinking through the chest, I'm not over rounding. Okay, and then we're going to come, as I'm working in a small space, I'm going to come back again. So I'm going to slide opposite hand and knee back. Land, come back. Land. And you should get a sense of there being an awakening really through the front of the body. Even if for those of you that maybe feel quite strong already, this may be quite gentle. And for those of you that don't, this may be quite lively. So as you get towards the back of your mat, you're so welcome to just repeat that. Otherwise, we're going to add on another little layer. This is going to really ramp it up. Okay. So with the toes tucked as we breathe out, float both knees up off the floor. Okay, so you've got toes tucked, both knees up off the floor. and just feel the engagement through the body, and then drop the knees down. So if you weren't practicing this time, have a try now. Space between the fingers, not rounding too much, not sinking through the chest. As you breathe out, softening the front ribs down, lift both knees. Just pause for a moment. Get a sense of what's required. Keep the breath flowing, and then drop the knees. Okay, so you can just practice that. You can do one knee, one hand coming forward with the knees, opposite knee on the ground, or you can float both knees and crawl. See if you can keep that block on the back of the pelvis. Mine always falls off, by the way. So on the breath out, float both knees, and then slide one knee and one hand forward. Stay as close to the ground as you can and begin to crawl towards the top of your mat, winding the block, and then coming back. So it's a great one for the brain, especially if you're coming backwards. Opposite hand and knee towards the back of the mat. A couple of times, it's coming forwards and back. It goes without saying, anytime you need to rest, take a rest. You could drop one knee to the floor, like the first round that we did. Oh, hang on, I'm talking, I'm not concentrating. First round that we did. Make it a little bit, make it suitable for your body. Wobble, wobble of my block. Okay, coming towards the back of the mat. And drop the knees down. Good job. Take the block. Bring it in front of you, or the cushion. Bring the palms of the hands towards the sky and bring the forearms either side of the block. Tuck your toes under and take the bottom back. Maybe the bottom wants to rest onto the heels. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe the head hangs. Maybe it rests. And just take a few breaths here. Head releasing, palms to the sky. Yeah, one more. Great. Palms down. Come on up. Okay, I'm just going to adjust my little microphone again. So we're going to take the block once again. Place it on the back of the body. Spread the fingers once again. Arms long, soften the elbows. And then let's take a little work into plank pose. So let's take our right leg back, tuck our toes. As we breathe out, midway through the breath, feel the front ribs softening back. Can you float just the left knee, just an inch? Float the left knee just an inch. Good. And then if you want to step the foot back into your full plank, drop the right knee, but not quite to the ground. Just have it floating just an inch. If you prefer, the knee can drop right onto the ground to fully support the body. Otherwise, we're just going to walk from one side to the other. We're either just dropping the knee so it's landing fully on the ground to take support, or we're hovering it. Take a few breaths. Moving from one side to the other. Keeping that block or cushion on the back of the body one more time to each side. Let both knees come down. Take the brick again, or block, cushion, bring it in front of you. Palms to the sky, squeeze the block a little. Take the weight of the pelvis back and come down again. Just going to check the time. Take a few breaths. Okay. And from here, feel that stretch through the shoulders. So if you don't, walk the knees a little bit further back away from the brick, if you're not feeling that sense of length and opening across the shoulders. Good, and then let's take the brick and place it over to the side. Turn the palms down and stretch the fingers out in front of you. Tent the hands, so we're resting on the fingertips, but the palms are lifted. Let the head go. And then when you're ready, let's come up. Let's drop into the palms of the hands. Let's come up onto all fours. Bringing the pelvis over the knees. And let's just begin to tuck the tailbone around the spine. Take a couple of cat-to-cows. And get quite playful in the movement. Get quite curious. You could move in any way that you wanted to from this initiating cat-to-cow movement. Wriggle and stretch and feel that you can really release through the shoulders, through the neck, through the head. And then we can come towards puppy pose, which may not serve some of us with lower back. With a lower back that needs a little bit more support this morning, so you might prefer to work from cat and come through into cow and really feel that you're extending across the upper chest without dropping the belly. So the arms stay long, that softening of the front ribs in, but we're really looking to work this upper back and chest. But otherwise, if puppy's going to work for you, keeping the pelvis over the knees, taking the arms beyond the shoulders, and then beginning to rest the chest down. Your head may release. Notice again, it's easy here for us to stick our bottom out and just drop. Well, for some of us to drop the chest towards the ground. And you can let that happen if that's what you want to experience. But I'm going to keep those front ribs in. So I'm just going to soften those front ribs towards the spine. I'm looking more for length. And rest the head. So feel the difference for yourself. If you're very mobile and you're used to letting the bottom lift up and the rib cage bow. And then as you breathe out halfway through that breath out, just softening those front ribs in. And notice how much more length you get through the spine. And then everyone dropping down onto the elbows. Walking the elbows forward, lowering onto the pelvis. Elbows can come under the shoulders. But if that's not comfortable for your lower back, just bring them forward of the shoulders. So lower down even more. And let's press through the hands a little bit into the ground, lift the chest. No effort now through the pelvis, through the buttocks, through the legs. We're just pressing down through the arms to give us a little lift. And we want to feel this lift through the upper chest and upper back, not the lower back. So if you're feeling it in the lower back, just simply slide the arms a little further forward. And maybe lift the gaze a little bit. Bring a little smile to the face, maybe just have a little wriggle from side to side. So we're just massaging the front of the body, parts that we've just awakened and used. And then come all the way down when you're ready. Just make a little pillow with the hands. And give up all effort of the body now. Just give up all effort of the body. You could stay on the front body if that just felt really delicious, or you could choose to roll onto the back again. Feet to the floor or the body long, legs long on the ground. Or you might choose to, as I'm going to roll to the side and just come up to sit to finish class this morning. But let's just, whatever position you're in, let's just find a space that we're happy to be in. Eyes open or closed. Bring that attention back to the breath. Giving up all effort of moving the body with the breath. So no need to soften those front ribs in now as you breathe out. Just notice the natural movement of the breath in the body. And we drop into this little space this morning. We just drop in. What does playfulness look like to me? How do I play? And just notice what sentences formulate in response to that question, or images or memories come to mind. What does playfulness look like to me? How do I like to play? And there's just a gentle curiosity about the answers coming. No need to put on any meaning or great story to the results, but just to notice. And then maybe see if there's a point between now and next you come onto your mat where you can bring a little playfulness into your life, where you can reconnect with the joy of doing something just for doing it, with nothing to achieve, nothing more than enjoyment in that moment. And to notice the energy that comes as we engage a little in play. As you breathe out, the head would like to drop if you're seated, if the eyes want to open. Take any little movements you want to, just to come back. Thank you very much. Thanks, Molly. Come back into the space, let the hands come through the center. And thank you so much for joining.